Hi, my name is Todd Babcock. I'm a professional land surveyor. I live in Athens, Pennsylvania. And I've been asked to give a little bit of an interview about the type of work that I do in my career that maybe would help you to decide if your career path. I'm a professional land surveyor. When I was in high school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought about going into the service, and it was in the spring of my senior year that I was finally introduced to the profession of land surveying. I had a teacher who was a drafting teacher, and he recognized that I enjoyed math and sciences and drafting and drawing, mechanical drafting and architectural drafting. And we also did a course in school where we took out some surveying equipment and measured the height of a flagpole and laid out a building, a rectangle area. And that kind of piqued my interest, and he provided me with an article about the surveying program that they have at the Penn State University's Wilkes-Barre campus, which isn't far from where I lived. And I had never thought about surveying as a career. And about that time, my aunt and uncle were actually having the property surveyed, and the surveyor that was doing the work allowed me to tag along and learn a little bit about what he was doing, and that was it. I decided I was going to go to college to become a surveyor, and I've been doing that now for almost over 35 years. So what could have been a time where going into the service, not knowing what I could do, somebody made a suggestion to me, and it changed my life. It made a big difference in my career. So what do I like about my job? I've got a list of questions here that they'd like me to answer. So I'll go through them and tell a little bit about me and my career and what I like. What do I do? So what do I like about my job? Well, I like the diversity of the work, the things that we do, and the technology has changed so much over the years. When I started in this career, 35 years ago or more, the equipment that we used was, they were still measuring things with a tape and measuring angles with a transit. About that time, the electronics started taking over, and the equipment started changing, and now we measure distances with electronic distance measuring devices in EDM. They measured angles electronically and recorded all that on data collectors. And over the years, it's also evolved to where we use a global positioning system and satellites to measure our location on the face of the Earth. Now we're using drones and scanners and all types of very advanced equipment to do what was very much more manual task in the past. But it's become very technical, so it's been fun over the course of my career to learn new things, new tools, new equipment, new software. So it's always changing, and it's been a real challenge to keep up with that at sometimes. So, what are my responsibilities? Well, right now I'm a vice president at CEC. I'm the office lead here in our office, so I try to manage the day-to-day work that is going on, trying to keep the business going, and make sure that everybody has work to do, and bring in the work and make sure that it's done in a quality way, that we provide a good product to our clients. What skills would help you in this field? Well, for a surveyor, which I am, a professional land surveyor, background in math is very important. Algebra, trigonometry. You have to take calculus, the sciences, understanding optics and the physics of how an electronic distance measuring device works, or how the global positioning system gathers the data using radio signals. So the physics of that, and understanding the concepts of how the equipment works, so that you can recognize when things don't look right. Also, early on, I spent a lot of time in the field. As a surveyor, you're out, doing boundary surveys, property surveys, measuring on construction sites. So it was a mix of both the office and the field work that, was what I enjoyed. I enjoyed being outdoors. I was an outdoorsman. What's a typical day's work for you? Well, right now, it's mostly in the office. I spend a lot of time just managing projects and coordinating with our employees to make sure that they have the tools and equipment that they need, and the skills or training that they need, and also coordinating with clients on projects that we're doing. So right now it's mostly in the office. I do get out in the field once in a while if I have to go out and look at a project. Early on in my career, I would spend a lot more time in the field collecting the data, and then I'd bring it back and we'd process it in the computers. Used to be 35 years ago that we would plot everything by hand, manually on graph paper or plot it out by hand. But then plotters came along and we could do it, put it in electronically, and it would plot it to a map. Now with the AutoCAD, Civil 3D programs that we use, everything's electronically, and we very seldom even print out paper copies of the plans that we're doing. Most of it's electronic. So things have changed very much over the years. Early on I spent more time in the field, and now I'm spending more time in the office, dreaming about a day when I can be back out in the field. What type of business and environment, what is your type of business and environment? Self-employed, factory, office. So for me, again, is that part of it is being outdoors. A lot of the surveyors that we have working for us are out in the field on a day-to-day basis. They collect the information, bring it back to the office and process that. And so it's kind of a mix of field and office. But for me right now, most of my time is in the office. How long did it take for you to be qualified for the position you're in now? Well, as a surveyor, to become a professional land surveyor, it depends. It differs state by state. So in Pennsylvania, the requirement is that you have to have a degree, at least an associate's degree in surveying technology, or a bachelor's degree in surveying, or engineering that has enough credits in surveying that you could apply for the exam. So after you get your educational degree, you have to work for 4 years in responsible charge under a professional land surveyor. And responsible charge means that you actually have to be responsible for the projects, kind of coordinating the work and not just doing the work. So, going out and just doing construction stakeout, putting stakes in the ground, or traversing for a boundary does not qualify as being entirely as in responsible charge. You also have to spend a mix of time in the field and the office. So you can't have any less than 25% in either the field or office. So if your job were to be all out in the field 100% of the time, and you didn't have any office experience doing the calculations and research and boundary research, that would not qualify you to sit for the exam. So you have to have 4 years of experience working under a registered professional land surveyor, gaining that experience and knowledge. It's like kind of like an apprenticeship before you can apply to take the exam. You complete an application to the state that you're interested in getting licensed in. That application would describe the type of works you did, the people that you worked for. You'd have to have references to say that they feel that you're qualified to sit for this exam. And then it's 16 hours of testing you have to take. The first 8 hours is a national component, so you can take that right out of college or during college. And when you get that, you become a surveyor in training, an SIT. That means that you're now on track to gain that additional experience to sit for the professional land surveyor exam. Once you have your SIT exam and you've met the requirements of the 4-year requirements of education or apprenticeship, then you can, with approval, you sit for the exam, and it's another 8 hours. And each state has its own state-specific part. In Pennsylvania, that's a 2-hour exam that has items relating more to Pennsylvania law, Pennsylvania regulations. If you pass that exam, then you become a professional land surveyor. You're licensed. You could start your own business and as a land surveyor to perform work and provide services to the people of Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I'm licensed in Pennsylvania. I've been licensed since 1989. I've also was licensed at one time in South Carolina. No longer work down there, so I didn't maintain that license. But I'm also licensed in the state of New York. So after gaining my license in Pennsylvania, I can go to New York and take a 2-hour exam that is state-specific, 60 questions that you have 2 hours to answer. Then you get your license in the state of New York, and I can practice as a professional land surveyor and provide services to the public in the state of New York. Some surveyors have licenses in multiple states. I work with some people that have their license in 7, 8 states. It depends on where you're going to be performing the work. But now we also have mandatory continuing education that I have to comply with. I have to have 21 hours of continuing education every 2 years, where I go back and take coursework or seminars or if I write a paper or articles that help me to advance my understanding of the surveying profession, keep up on the current laws and regulations, current technology, ethics. It's very important. As a surveyor that you're ethical. You're considered a professional, so you have to make sure that you are fair in the decisions you're making and the work that you're doing, and that you're honest about the work you do. If you say you're going to do a project and you're going to provide a certain level of work for the people or provide a product, that you provide that to them and that you give them what they pay for. So my personal career path and how did I get where I am? I started out of college. I worked for a small surveying firm, just a couple people there. We did a lot of subdivisions and land development and boundary surveys, some construction stakeout. After that, I went to a firm. It was a larger engineering firm where I was mostly indoors, and I was doing the drafting, the calculations that the field surveyors would go out and gather the information, and I would do the drafting to draw it up so that we could hand it over to the engineers, and the engineers could do the design work. Once it was designed, we could hand it back to the surveyors, and they would go out in the field and stake it out so that the contractors could build the project that we're building, whether it would be a warehouse or a hospital or parking lots or whatever it might be. After that, I went to work for a company that was a home builder and developer, that they built houses and commercial developments. So my responsibilities were to do the boundary surveys, do the topographic surveys to measure, locate, map the earth and all the features that are on that property. And then we would design the housing development, have to go to construction stake out the houses, stake out where the roads are going to go, all the utilities, the storm sewer, the sanitary sewer, the water lines, gas lines, electric. All of that had to be marked so that the contractors knew where to put that in the field. And then once it was constructed, I'd have to actually do an as-built survey, go out and locate it all, make sure that it was put in per the plan, and create a record document that shows where all the information is. Since then, I've moved back up to the area where I grew up and worked for a firm in the natural gas industry, where I coordinated the survey efforts for the work that was being done for the pipeline companies. And now I'm on the other side of the fence working for a consultant that does the design work again. So I've kind of come full circle, working as both on both sides, either working for the contractor or working for the engineering firm that does the design. So that to become a surveyor, right out of college, you need that, the college education. So it's a 2 or 4 year degree, 4 years of experience, and sometimes it's 5 or 6 years of experience you get before you have the level of experience and understanding and knowledge that you need to sit for that exam. Some people take the exam and they may not pass it the first time. They have to take it 2 or 3 times before they pass it. I was fortunate enough to pass it for the first time, so I'm glad I didn't have to take that again. The education experience required, I talked about that a little bit, and like the company that I work for, CEC, they will pay for my continuing education. I go to a conference once a year, every other year, to make sure that I have the continuing education requirements that I have for Pennsylvania, and I also have to have continuing education credits for New York as well. So some of those I can use in both states, but others are more state specific. So I might have to have 30 to 40 hours of continuing education every 2 years, 20 hours a year that you have to keep going back. But it's always a learning experience. And even if I'm not going to a course, I'm always learning. I'm always reading articles and trying to understand more about what we're doing and the technology and equipment we're using. What are the drawbacks and rewards of your current job? Well, my current job, I think the drawbacks are, some of it is just trying to make sure that we have enough work and keep everybody busy. I mean, we're a company, we want to keep these same people. I enjoy working with the people I'm working with, and I always worry about making sure that we have enough of workload that we can keep them busy and working. Some of the rewards of this current job, the people I work for, I really enjoy working with them. They're really good people. They're very intelligent and professional, and it's just it's a joy to get involved with a project early on and be able to see that project through to the end and completion to where it's completely built, and drive by someplace and see you had a part in building that and constructing that, and providing a livelihood to the people that want to live in this community and work in this community, to make sure that they have a good, stable job. Salary range for this position, an entry-level salary. So that really depends on where you are and your level of experience and knowledge. For a survey technician maybe coming out of college, you might expect to get $17 to $20 an hour, somewhere in that area, depending on what you're doing in the firm. It's going to depend on if you want to live in a rural area. There may not be as much of a workload, and working for a small company, maybe the pay isn't as good. Or if you're working in a large urban area in a city somewhere, the pay may be higher, but also your cost of living may be higher. So it's a as you grow and develop and learn more as a professional land surveyor, you might be making more in the range of, say, $80,000 a year, depending on, again, what part of the country you're living in. But as a professional land surveyor at a higher level, you might be more in the $100,000 to $120,000 a year range. It really depends on your skill set, your knowledge. It really depends on you. If you could own your own business and make much more than that. You could employ other people and have your own business. You could be a small employer and have 2 employees and just do small projects, or you could grow that into a much larger business. I know several surveyors who have started out small and now they have firms of 20, 40 people. They've done really well for themselves. It's a good career. Are there opportunities for advancement in your field? Absolutely. I started out as in the field, just a young guy out of college, and worked my way up to the point where I was managing projects, and as a professional land surveyor, having that responsibility to put my seal, my signature on a drawing and say that this is true and correct representation, to the best of my knowledge of where the boundary is, that this information is accurate. And then, I've worked my way up through to, being, a manager, managing other people. And now, I find myself as a vice president of a company that, we're a company of 1,000 people. We have about 14 people in our office, but, worked my way up to, I've been very, very fortunate to work with good people and learn a lot of things along the course of the way. What made me decide that this was the right field for me? Well, I think, that opportunity in high school that I had to, some people recognized this in me. They knew that I liked the outdoors, I was good at math, I was good at the drafting, and they thought this might be a good career path for me. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Again, I was a senior in my spring of my senior year before I decided to go to Penn State and do this surveying. But there were also people along the way that let me just tag along and see what a surveyor does, and that's something I'd be willing to do if you were interested in surveying or engineering or something in the field that we're in with the ecological group that does permitting for environmental permitting, or an environmental group that does spill cleanup and checking soils for contamination and trying to find ways that we can clean that up, or identifying areas that are contaminated or polluted to prevent those things. We would be willing to have young people come in, trying to learn a bit about a career, and have you come in and learn a little bit about it. We can tell you about what we do and see what we do day to day. We do hire interns. I have a young man here this summer that is in college. He's going into his senior year, and he's in environmental engineering, and he's going to be interning with us. So he's learning a little bit about CAD today. He's out surveying. He's out doing well water sampling. So he's learning a lot of different skills so that he can find career opportunities when he graduates from college. What should you be doing right now to prepare yourself for this career? Well, obviously the education is the important part. It's hard at this point in your life to really maybe know what you want to do for the rest of your life. I'm still trying to figure that out. But I think gaining the education, getting to know people, networking. If you want to be an architect, call a local architectural firm. If you want to be an accountant, call a local accounting firm or a CPA and say, I'm interested in doing this as a career. Could you spend a few minutes with me to tell me about what you do? Can I see what you do on any given day? Maybe shadow with them for a little bit and get a better understanding about what they do and see if that's what you want to do. What other things could you be doing outside of school, such as volunteering, working, or extracurricular activities? Well, yeah, I still spend a lot of time volunteering. I think it's important to give back to your community and to be a part of your community. And that's also where you meet other people that may help you in your career path. again, a lot of this is about networking, getting to know people in the industry, getting to understand what their likes and dislikes are, so you can decide if that's a career you want to follow. Do you ever allow students to job shadow with you? Yes. Yeah, we could have people come in for a couple hours and happy to answer questions. And, we have to be careful. We can't necessarily have you go out on construction sites or where there's any hazards. But, to come into an office environment, you could come in and learn a little bit about what we do. We'd be happy to do that. How does your career help your community members? Does your company get involved with any community events? Yeah. We get involved with the local business association and the Chamber of Commerce. So, being part of that helps you to network with some of the businesses that are also in your community that, we can help them to grow and provide services to them or utilize their services, whether it's the local restaurants. And they, in turn, will hopefully utilize our services, whether it's a local law firm, attorney who needs some survey work done for a client, or the business owner, they're trying to grow and expand their business. Maybe they need a surveyor or engineering firm to do the work for them to help them to grow. What would you have done differently to get where you are? Study harder in high school or take different classes or a different path? I guess in hindsight, I would have stayed at the first job that I ever had. I was working for a small surveying firm who grew from, there were 3 of us working there, and then it grew up to, about 8, 9 people. And, at one point I left the firm, and he eventually retired, and had I stayed there, instead of him having sold the business to another engineering firm, maybe I would have run the company. I could have bought the business from him, and maybe I'd be retired by now. But at the time, it was a decision I made, and I'm not disappointed that I made the decision. I chose the path I chose, but in hindsight, maybe that would have changed the course of my life, that I would have stayed there and owned my own business, and maybe I'd be retired by now. But I'm happy with the way things turned out. I still had a good career, worked for some good companies, learned a lot of things, and met a lot of really good people along the way. Do you have any advice for a student just starting out in this career path? I think get involved with contact a local surveying or engineering firm. See if you might be able to come in and ask them some questions, learn a little bit more about the career and the opportunities that are out there. Maybe they'll let you go and shadow and see a little bit of the working place. Do some research, talk to people, call them on the phone, ask them what they do, ask them if they're hiring. What does the job market look like? And then if you decide to go down that path, get involved with local organizations, whether it's your student organization, that may be a student surveying society, or whatever career you're into. Get involved with that organization, get involved with professional organizations, find a mentor, find somebody that can, help and guide you and give you advice. It's really about, developing relationships and networking, getting to know people. That's how you'll find out about job opportunities that are out there, or clients, eventually. But get involved with your community organizations, state organizations, federal organizations, or national organizations that involve your career, so you can get to know people and keep up on technology. Technology is continuously changing. You've got to keep it current, to know the new tools and new equipment, new software. So it's ever evolving. So anyway, I wish you luck in whatever endeavor you take on. If you have any questions, again, my name is Todd Babcock. You can reach out to me, and be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you. Bye.